Hello and welcome to this lab demonstration on adding vSphere licenses. After completing this lab video, you will be able to add vSphere licenses to a vCenter server and assign licenses to a vCenter server instance. Since we will use the VMware vSphere client user interface to apply vSphere licenses, you should know about the vSphere licensing options and you should be familiar with the vSphere client graphical user interface. In the first task, we will add the licenses to a vCenter server. We want to perform the configuration on vCenter server SA vCSA01. So the first step is to connect to this server. Then we log in using the default administrator account, administrator@vsphere.local. And the password of this user. To add the licenses, we go to the menu and from the drop-down list we select Administration. In the navigator pane, we select Licenses and then we click Add New Licenses. Now we have to enter the licenses. Be aware that you have to enter them one by one, so every license has to be in one line. So this is the vCenter Server 7 standard license. And now in a new line, I'm typing in the vSphere 7 Enterprise Plus license. Once we're done with entering the licenses, we click Next. Now we can assign a name to the licenses. So in our case, I enter vCenter Server Training. And ESXi Training. And I'm using the same name for the second license. Then I click Next. And on the last page of the wizard, as you can see, we can review the licenses. So we see the license keys and we see the license names that we assigned to them. You can double check it here. And once you are ready, you click Finish. And under licenses, we can now see the new licenses. Let me resize the window here so that we can see all of them. The second line is the vSphere 7 Enterprise Plus license. And the third line is the vCenter Server 7 Standard license. So these are the two licenses that we just added. You can see that none of them is in use at the moment. And you can see their expiration date. In this case, it's end of September this year. In the lab, we are using licenses that are valid for 90 days. Now we want to assign the vCenter Server Standard license to a vCenter server instance. In the license pane, we have to select the Assets tab. And we see a list of the vCenter servers. In our case, there is only one, SA vCSA01. So we select this vCenter server. And then we click Assign License. Now we have to select the license that we want to assign to the vCenter server. The license that we added earlier is the second one. So we select this one and we click OK. And we can now see that our vCenter server is using one instance. We see the name of the license that is used and we see the expiration date, which is September 29, 2022. So this is the license that we uploaded earlier. We successfully added licenses to a vCenter server and we assigned a license to a vCenter server instance. Congratulations! You have completed the Adding vSphere Licenses lab demonstration video. In this lab, we first added licenses to a vCenter server, then we assigned a license to a vCenter server instance. Thank you for watching this lab demonstration video. I hope the knowledge acquired here will help you with your daily job assignments, and good luck as you continue your journey in VMware world. Oh, and welcome to this lab demonstration on creating and managing the vCenter server inventory. After completing this lab demo, you will be able to create and configure objects in the vCenter server inventory. In a large vSphere deployment, you can have lots of hosts, clusters, resource pools, networks, and vCenter servers. You can set up multiple data centers to group objects. But even within a data center, it's just not fun to circle through a long and flat list of objects when you want to locate a specific entry. Therefore, it is best practice to organize the vCenter server inventory by using folders and maybe even subfolders. Grouping objects in hierarchical structures makes administration so much easier. You will enjoy navigating and managing your well-organized inventory with ease. Since we will use the VMware vSphere client to organize the vCenter server inventory, you should be familiar with the vSphere client user interface and you should know the objects that are part of the inventory. In the first task, we will add a new data center to the inventory of a vCenter server. We want to perform the configuration on vCenter server SA vcsa01. So the first step is to connect to this server. Then we log in using the default administrator account, administrator@vsphere.local, and the configured password. You can see that we have a single data center on this vCenter server at the moment, the SA data center. So what we are going to do is we will add a new data center called ICM data center. To do that, we right click the vCenter server, select new data center and enter the name of the data center. Then we click OK and we can see that the data center has been added. It appears in the navigation pane. At the moment, nothing is configured within the data center, so there are no hosts, no virtual machines, no clusters, and so on. In the next task, we will add 2 ESXi hosts to the inventory. We will add them to the newly created ICM data center. We will assign a license to these ESXi hosts, and then we will verify that they appear in the navigation pane under this new data center, ICM data center. So let's go ahead and add the first host. We right click our ICM data center and we select Add Host. In the wizard, we enter the fully qualified domain name of the ESXi host that we want to add. We start with ESXi host saesxi01.vclass.local. Then we click Next. And now we have to enter the username and the password of that ESXi host. So we enter root for the username, and then we type in the password of that root account on ESXi host SAESXi01. We click Next. Now we see a host summary. Please note that at this time our wizard already connected to the ESXi host. So at this point you know that the username and the password that you entered is correct. And what we can see is that the wizard connected to the ESXi host and it obtained information about it. So we see the vendor, the model, the version. So it's an ESXi 7.0 ESXi host. And we also see the virtual machines that exist on this ESXi host. So we review the information, everything is okay, so we can click Next. Now we want to assign a license to the ESXi host. In our case, we want to use the license that is called vCenter Server Training and ESXi Training. And when we have a look to the product, then we see that this is a VMware vSphere 7 Enterprise Plus license. So let's select this license and then click Next. Now we have to specify the lockdown mode that we want to apply to this ESXi host. What does lockdown mode mean? Well, it describes how you can manage the ESXi host after it has been added to a vCenter server. If we disable lockdown mode, then you can still manage the ESXi host directly, which means you could type in its fully qualified domain name or IP address in a browser, and then you would use the ESXi host client interface. In addition, of course, you can manage the ESXi host through the vCenter server. That's why we added to the vCenter server to be able to do it from there. And the local console of the ESXi host would also be still available. This is when we disable lockdown mode. Another option is to pick normal. This means that the host is accessible only through the local console or via the vCenter server. And finally, strict. This option allows management only through the vCenter server. Even the direct console user interface service is stopped, so you couldn't use the console of that ESXi host when using the strict option. We configure lockdown mode disabled in our lab, so all management options will still be available. Then we click Next. The VM location is ICM Data Center. We click Next to confirm, and now we click Finish to add the host. In the recent tasks pane at the bottom, you can see that the standalone ESXi host has been added to the ICM data center. It's completed, so we should be able to see that ESXi host in our data center. Let's have a look in the navigation pane. I expand ICM data center, and you can see that the ESXi host SAESXi01 has been added to the data center. Now we will do exactly the same for a second ESXi host, SAESXi02. So again, we right click the data center, we select Add Host, we enter the fully qualified domain name, SAESXi02.vclass.local. We click Next. We provide the username and the password of that ESXi host, which is root for the username, and then the password of that user. We click Next. Again, we see the summary. So this ESXi host has the same version, it's running VMware ESXi version 7, but it does not contain any virtual machines. We click Next. We assign the same license that we assigned to the ESXi host SAESXi01. We click Next. Again, we choose Disabled for the lockdown mode, so we can click Next. We confirm the location for the VMs, which is our ICM data center, so we click Next again. And now we click Finish to add the ESXi host to the vCenter server. Again, we can watch the progress under recent tasks, and it's already completed. So we added another ESXi host to our vCenter server inventory. Both of them can be seen under ICM data center. Let's have a closer look at one of them. We select the first ESXi host, SAESXi01. And when we look at the hardware configuration, for example, we can see that there are 2 CPUs and 8 GB of RAM. When I expand the networking group and scroll down a little bit, then we can see that there is one network configured on that ESXi host, and the ESXi host has 5 physical adapters. Now that we added the ESXi host to the vCenter server, let's also make sure that all our servers are running on accurate time and date. And the best thing to do that is to enable the Network Time Protocol, NTP. To do that, we select the ESXi host in the navigator pane. We click Configure, and in the Configure tab, under System Time Configuration, we can see that Network Time Protocol is currently disabled and the service is stopped. So let's click Edit here. We want to enable NTP. Now we have to type in the IP address of the NTP server. In our case, this is 172.20.10.10. We activate the checkbox Start NTP Service so that it will be started now. And for the future, we want to start the service with the host. So as soon as our ESXi host gets powered up, the NTP service should get started. We click OK. And we can see that the NTP client is enabled, the NTP service is running, and the IP address of the NTP server is 172.20.10.10. So we configured NTP for ESXi host SAESXi01. Now let's do the same for our second ESXi host, SAESXi02. So we select our ESXi host, and under Configure, System Time Configuration, Network Time Protocol, we click Edit. We activate the Enable checkbox. We type in the IP address of the NTP server, 172.20.10.10. We check the Start NTP Service checkbox. And we configure the NTP service startup policy to start and stop with host. Then we click OK. Again, we can check the configuration here. So we can see that the NTP client is enabled, the service is running, and the IP address is correct. It's 172.20.10.10. As you can see in the navigator pane, our ESXi hosts are in a flat list within our data center. There is no additional hierarchy. So that's what we want to do in the next task. We want to create a folder to group these two ESXi hosts together. To do that, we right-click our data center, then we choose New Folder, and since we talk about ESXi hosts, we have to choose New Host and Cluster Folder. Let's use the name Lab Servers. We click OK. And you can see that this folder has been added to our data center. If I click on it, then we can see that currently there is nothing inside, which makes sense because we just added it. So let's change that. We wanted to have our two newly added ESXi hosts grouped together in a folder. So I drag ESXi host SAESXi01 to the lab servers folder. Then I do the same for our ESXi host SAESXi02. You can see that they are not visible anymore in our ICM data center. Well, that's because our folder isn't expanded, and if we expand the folder now, we can find these two ESXi hosts under the folder. In our final task, we will create folders for VMs and VM templates. We will create two folders this time, one for lab VMs and another one for lab templates. Please note that the type of the folder is the same, because the category in the vCenter server user interface simply is VMs and templates. That's the type of the folder. But of course we can decide to split them up so that we have all the VMs in one folder and all the templates in another one. So let's go ahead. We are currently in the hosts and clusters category in our navigator pane. As we want to add folders for VMs and templates, we will now go to that entry here, VMs and templates. Now in the navigator pane we see the existing data centers. If we expand our ICM data center, we see all the VMs that exist in the data center, and we can see that there are no folders. To add a folder, we right-click the data center, we select New Folder, and this time we choose the option called New VM and Template Folder. We enter the name. Let's use the name Lab VMs for this folder. We click OK, and we see that the folder is created. Now let's drag a virtual machine into that folder. Let's use the VM Win1002. So I simply drag it into the folder. And we can do the same with other VMs. So I'm also moving VM Windows 10 04 into that folder. And I do the same for the VM Windows 10 06. When I expand the folder, you can see that we find these three VMs in the folder now. Now let's add another folder. Just to demonstrate it, I right-click our data center. Then we select New Folder. Again, the type is New VM and Template Folder. I assign the name Lab Templates to this folder. And we click OK. So you can see that we have another folder here. If I click on it, then we see that no virtual machines are in there. So these two folders are of the same type, VMs and templates, but we decided to create two of them so that we split our VMs and templates into separate folders. All the VMs are in here. And right now we don't have any templates, but if we would add some, they would go into the lab templates folder. Finally, let's explore what we can do on these folders. So when you right click a folder, for example the lab VMs folders, then you can see that the options that we have here, they are all related to virtual machines, which makes sense because this is a VM and templates folder type. In contrast, if we go back to our hosts and clusters view, and if we right click the folder that we created here, then you see that the options that we get relate to ESXi host and clusters. Congratulations, you have completed the creating and managing the vCenter server inventory lab demonstration video. In this lab, we first created a new data center. Then we added 2 ESXi hosts to the data center. We had a look at the hardware configuration at one of the added ESXi hosts, and then we configured both ESXi hosts as NTP clients. After that, we created a hosts and clusters folder and moved the 2 ESXi hosts into the folder to group them together. Finally, we created VMs and templates folders, and we moved some virtual machines into one of these folders. In our lab, we didn't have lots of hosts and virtual machines, but I'm sure that you see the benefits of using a folder structure to organize the vCenter server inventory, especially in larger environments. Thank you for watching this lab demonstration video. I hope the knowledge acquired here will help you with your daily job assignments, and good luck as you continue your journey in VMware world.